That's the whole thing, is that we are the culmination of all of our experiences here on Earth and in other planets and other galaxies. We have to basically connect to that soul version of ourselves to know and remember. Your soul purpose is to help people remember.
Welcome to the Akashic Recordings. I'm Annette DeLu, Akashic Conduit, Channel, and Spiritual Guidance Coach. I want to thank you for joining me today. The Akashic Recordings is created through the cooperation of my clients who have agreed to have their sessions recorded. Of course, with their permission, I am able to share these beautiful sessions with you. If you are interested in booking a session with me, you can go to my website at infinitesoullove.com. If you've been listening to the last several episodes, you know that Soul Discovery Workshop Online is launching in 2025. Registration begins November 5th and will only be open for 2 weeks. There are limited spots available. So if you are interested in connecting to your own intuition, meeting your angels and guides, and connecting with other like-minded souls to practice your psychic gifts, in addition to learning how to read the Akashic records yourself, this is the workshop for you. So if you want more information, when registration opens up, the way to register, all of the dates and information, the outline of the course, feel free to head to my website at infinitesoullove.com. That's INFINITESOULLOVE.com. Once you get to the website, head to my contact page, send me an inquiry with the subject, Soul Discovery Workshop. There were multiple themes in this session with Jessica. The first was talking to one of her past lives that came up in a way that was so completely different than any time I've ever experienced connecting to somebody in a previous lifetime. So stay tuned for that story, because it's pretty incredible to see how things can come in differently with each client. In the second part of the session, we go through a meditation to meet Jessica's guides. Feel free to go into meditation along with us during this podcast. You might be able to meet some of your guides as well. And lastly, we answer some questions about her current partner, who she's been dating for 1.5 years. And she wanted to know if they had any past lives or any soul contracts together. Okay, so tell me what you would like to cover in today's session.
My most important question is, what can I do to better align with my soul's purpose?
Okay.
What's the purpose for my relationship with my twin sister and my mother? And do I have soul contracts with them? My next one was, what can I do to better communicate with my spirit team? And the next one is, am I carrying any past life trauma and karma? And how can I clear that?
Okay, great. Your root chakra is the light in it is very, very, very small. What this says to me is that you have some uncertainty about where you are, about where you want to be. It's like you're balancing on the head of a pin and you're about to fall in any direction, but you don't know which direction that's going to be.
That's true.
So we'll get some clarity as to why that is. I'm not getting that has anything to do with the past life. It's just sort of where you are right now.
Yeah.
So your sacral chakra is almost being tempered at the moment. So like I'm feeling like this really big energy trying to get out of it. And then it gets really, really small. And then it gets really, really big and really, really small, because basically it's like you really want to move forward with something, but it's like you're afraid if you do that you're going to topple over entirely. You're leading with your creativity. You're leading with your divine feminine, but it is set back by the root chakra. Your solar plexus chakra is looking okay. There's no really big blockages, but I'm just seeing question marks throughout, questioning yourself at every turn. Even though like the way forward is really bright and beautiful, you're questioning it every single step of the way.
Yes.
Okay. And that has to do with the trust factor. So we'll work on that a little bit. And the first thing I'm hearing is that how do you trust others? How do you trust the guides? How do you trust everything? You start trusting yourself. That's where it starts.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a habit that has been going on for many, many lifetimes. And I'm seeing you wander around asking, where can I find love? Where can I find love? Where can I find love? And
Yeah.
you're looking everywhere outside of yourself. Meanwhile, your heart is like, hey, I'm right here. I'm right here. Pay attention to me. Hello, I'm here. And you're like, I don't see it. Where is it? So like you've been outwardly focused for the last several lifetimes, in fact. And this lifetime is very much about redirecting your focus. You've got some extremes going on overall. So I'm hearing that there are times when you just get like crazy downloads and messages and all sorts of things. And then all of a sudden it's like crickets. There's nothing. And then you get a lot of messages and then crickets.
That's true. That's very true.
And that has to do with your energy field and where you are and whether or not you're open to the messages. So you think that it's about your guides not giving you messages or you not being able to get them. And it's more that your energy field is shifting and changing. And so in that shift and change, sometimes when you are going through changes, it's actually not good for you to have as many messages and downloads because maybe your body is still integrating the last ones, or maybe you're still adjusting to the new energy. And in which case you don't want to overburden your physical body. Okay.
Okay.
So it's part of the process. As you get further along in your journey, it'll become less frequent that you'll have these moments of crickets. It'll be more frequent that you'll be sort of tuned in the entire time. And then occasionally you will need rest. But like for the most part, you'll be tuned in.
Okay.
It's just during this transition period. So it's nothing to worry about.
That answered a big question of mine, actually.
Good, good, good. It's so funny because it just goes to show with these sessions, I'm not driving. Originally, when you were like, oh, I've got 10 questions. Initially, I was like, okay, maybe I'll just skip the chakra scan and we can go dive right into the questions. And as soon as I started the meditation, the guys were like, nope, you're doing the chakra scan. I'm like, okay, guess I'm doing the chakra scan. So this is probably why. For lack of a better word, your third eye is very excited. It's open and it's new and it's seeing all these new things and it's like, yay, awesome. Look at all this cool stuff. And it's happy and it's a good energy to be in. All right. So then let's move that energy down into your throat chakra. I'm just hearing the words minor adjustments. So like what's good about this is that I'm not seeing in your chakra scan like any super big heavy things from past lives. That's a really good thing. So that means that whatever we're going to clear in the past lives will be something that will need to be cleared still, but it's not going to be something that has been like plaguing your chakra system for lifetimes over lifetimes. And it's the same with your throat chakra. So like I'm seeing your throat chakra actually turned on its side. So it's like minor adjustment. It needs to be turned to the correct orientation. And in which case, then that will help you with your communication. It'll help with everything else. So what is it that we can do to help adjust this? Is this something we can just do? Yes. Okay, cool. All right. So I'm going to set the intention to right the chakra so it's oriented in the correct place. Thank you. Okay. And if you want to, you can add some, and I'm talking to one of your guides, by the way. If you can you add a little bit of sacred geometry if that's necessary to support? Thank you. All right. So then let's let that energy land softly in your heart space, keeping us grounded to this earth plane while we access the Akashic records. Thank you to Akula. Thank you for helping us and guiding us on this journey. Thank you to Archangel Metatron and Archangel Sanaphon for assisting us as well. Today we are opening up the Akashic records. Where do we need to go first? Let's see. Soul purpose, trust, and fears. They're all kind of tied together. Okay. Well, let's take a look at the soul purpose first then. Yeah? Yes. Okay. How many lifetimes do we need to look at for her soul purpose? Just one. First thing that I'm seeing is the whole scene just sort of opened up into this vast red desert.
Oh.
It looks similar to maybe the Red Rocks in Arizona, like Sedona, somewhere around there. They're saying that's not where it is, but it's similar. It's similar landscape. It is in the US though. And there's nothing around you, like nothing, not a single thing. It's just the rocks, the desert, the heat. The sun is going down.
Yeah.
And you know that this is going to offer you some relief. I'm actually walking beside you and you're aware of my presence. You're saying to me, I don't know who you are, but I hope you're here to help. Oh, this is interesting. This hasn't happened before. Okay. So usually when I visit past lives, I am an observer. I typically don't interact with the people that I'm looking at. And you are aware that I'm there.
It's very cool.
It's very cool. And the thing is that because all of our lives are happening simultaneously, there is no time on the other side. So it's like everything is happening all at once. And so that's how my energy can be there with her at the same time that we're here. And what's interesting is that this is showing us that this is part of your soul purpose overall, is connecting all of the timelines within a single space. So you're able to connect with various energies of people in different places and different times and different dimensions. And it's quite easy for you.
Very cool.
I'm going to talk to her for a second because I want her to know that we're here to help. I just don't know what she needs in terms of help. Do you want to just sort of guide us as to what you are looking for? She wants to know which way is forward. She's walking forward symbolically, physically, but in terms of like her entire life, how does she move forward? She's telling me that she's been shunned by everybody she knows. They all think she's crazy. She's been communicating with the dead. She's been communicating with other spirits and other souls. No, I'm not dead. She's asking me if I'm one of those souls. No, I'm not. I'm alive. I'm actually in a different timeline, different dimension. You're talking to me right now because I'm actually speaking with another version of yourself at this time. She wants to know how you're doing.
We're trying.
She's laughing. She's saying she feels that. I am connected to your guide, so to speak. I'm connected to another version of you. We are looking at your soul purpose, and that's what we're trying to glean at this time. Yeah, I can help you with that as well. Okay. Your obstacles that you have in your life, they are tough sometimes, but you already have everything that you need within you to get through every single obstacle that you come across. This version of you, she's walking through that desert, and then like there's like this chasm, and she steps out and all of a sudden there's a bridge and she's able to walk across it. And that's sort of a general metaphor for how you've been operating your whole existence. That trust piece is so important for you, because in order for her to know that that bridge is there, she has to put her foot out and sort of take that leap, if you will. Okay.
Yeah.
Without that trust, you're constantly in that fear moving forward, not knowing if you're going to be supported.
Yeah.
So I'm telling this version of yourself walking in this desert, is she not being supported right now? The sun is going down, therefore it's going to cool off. She's not going to be super hot. There are water sources in the cacti that are around you. She's saying she knows that. Okay, great. And then I'm also here to guide you. Okay, so this is where it gets super mind-bendy. If I'm here helping her, and this is your past life, am I affecting her trajectory? The answer is yes. I'm helping her know and have more trust in what is unfolding before her. So I want to ask her, what was the reason why you decided to go walking in this desert? Like, what prompted you to do this? She felt she was needed in this direction. The place where she was before, people were angry at her. They didn't want her around. She just left and started walking and ended up in this place. Okay. And so the trust that she is not having at the moment is that she doesn't trust that there's anything at the end of where she's going. Like, she just feels like she's walking to her death. She feels like she's walking to the edge of this desert, wherever that happens to be. And I don't know how far it is, and I don't know where it's leading. And even if she does go into another village or another place, how is it that they're going to treat me any better than I was being treated in the last one? What is she there to do? Like, what is the purpose of her going from one place to the next? Like, I'm seeing the connection. So you've got the village where she wasn't welcome, the new place that she's going towards, the fact that she doesn't trust that she is going towards something, but she is, and I can see it. And I'm giving her that strength and that knowledge and that trust to know that she is going to make it to that next place. What is it about this next place that she needed to go to? You needed to try again. So your gifts are as such that if you communicate what you're doing and how you're moving through the world, some people are not going to understand it. You have to use your discernment as to how you're sharing information and how you go about helping. And if you need to help, you're a little bit like an angel in the sense that angels can't really interfere with human lives unless asked by us, asking for permission, saying, hey, can you please help me with this particular thing? you're learning the lesson that this is something that you must do as well. Like you must learn not to help unless you are being asked to help. And so part of the challenge in the previous village was that you were offering help where help wasn't wanted, in fact. And so you were learning this lesson between these two places, and the place that you are in now, walking in the desert, is giving you time to reflect on that. It's giving you time to reflect on why things went sort of sideways there. Okay, so you can see and feel like various different past life and future life versions of each person that you come across. So when you see one person, you see, let's say, 20 different people in the same person. You can see and sense all of their energy all at once. That is what you are responding to. You're not necessarily responding to the person themselves. This version of you is saying, exactly, that's exactly what I'm seeing. And it doesn't match up to who they are as a person. Exactly. Yeah. Because you're seeing the culmination of everything that they ever have been. And that is the sum of who they are as a soul. It's not who they are as a person. They are two completely different things. Now, it's only when you connect the soul with the person that those can be in alignment and those can be two of the same. We're all still working on that bit. We're all still working on being connected to our souls. Yeah. It's something that you naturally do. When I was talking about your heart chakra, one of the things that was mentioned was that you're looking everywhere but inside your heart. And that is absolutely true of getting guidance. So getting any sort of guidance, you're looking to your angels, your guides, like your spirit team. And ultimately, you are the superpower right now in the entire team. You're the one that's able to actually harness and connect yourself to these various different places and different dimensions and different versions of yourself and other people. This is something that your guides have been trying to teach you how to do because you naturally do it. So it's about you literally just going within and helping your soul connect more to your human body. And then you will get to know what it is you're here to do with this gift. You get to this next village.
Yes.
And now with this knowledge, after I've spoken to her, it's funny because now I'm not speaking to her anymore. She's now moving forward. She's living her life. So that was just a moment in her life that we were able to connect with her to. And basically she's now living her life and she's going and helping people remember who they are and connect to their hearts and their souls. And she's doing it in a way that is not scary for people. And she's only doing it with the people that seem open and that want to actually be open to this. And that's really important for you to know too.
Yes.
So do you have any questions about your soul purpose? I know it's a bit out there and it's kind of hard to wrap your brain around because it does involve different dimensions and things like that. But do you have any questions?
Since I was a child, I felt that it was to help, but I was like, how? I always got the word help and I just never knew what to do. That's what I've always been curious about.
And how you do that on a soul level is actually helping people connect to their own souls and to all of the versions of them that they have been. That's the whole thing, is that we are the culmination of all of our experiences here on Earth and in other planets and other galaxies. We have to basically connect to that soul version of ourselves to know and remember. Your soul purpose is to help people remember.
Okay, that's good to know.
How is she going to be doing this moving forward in her life then? They don't want to tell us. Okay.
I knew it.
They want you to discover it. They want it to unfold.
Yeah, I understand.
You already knew that though.
I figured I wasn't going to get the answer immediately.
Yeah, sometimes we have to go with it and then the answers will reveal themselves when they're meant to.
Yes.
Okay, so then let's take a look at the trust piece as well as the drowning water piece. There's something that is connected to that in some way. So the dreams that she has about drowning and about floods and things like that, this has to do with her emotions. Yes. Okay. It has to do with the lack of trust. That's why they're connected. Okay. Got it. You're afraid you're going to drown in your own emotions.
Yeah, that's so true.
Oh, right. Right. Okay. Got it. Part of the fear is when we connect to all of our past lives and we're able to integrate that into our soul, we are potentially going to be experiencing some of the things that we experienced in those past lifetimes that are not pleasant, that are emotional, that are traumatic. And sometimes we just don't want to know because we don't want to experience it. It's like it's in the past. We don't want to experience it. But
Mm-hmm.
The reason why it's necessary is that it becomes part of who we are. It's the culmination. It's how we've learned over the course of time.
Yes.
So if you can imagine 100 versions of yourself, and let's
Yeah.
say they're all just standing side by side, and each one has their own experiences. And if you were to flatten all of them into one person, and then all of a sudden you're able to feel and know and experience absolutely everything that you've ever experienced in a previous lifetime or a future lifetime, that would be pretty overwhelming.
Yes.
Okay. That is something that you are here to sort of prep people for, because one of the things that is meant to happen in the future, from our perspective, the future, is that as people are born now, they are going to start being born knowing every single lifetime they've ever lived.
Mm-hmm.
And as that starts happening, people are going to have to start integrating those things and integrating those lessons and learning that they are basically the sum of all of those beautiful and challenging experiences. And what you're here to do is you're here to help people through that process. You will work in the Akashic Records.
Mm.
You will also work outside of the records to help people, but you have to not be afraid of your own integration of all the versions of yourself. And that is what's holding you back to an extent, is that you need to integrate all of those past, current, future life versions of yourself. And in order to do that, you need to accept the potential emotion that goes along with it.
Okay.
You have the tools and you have the strength to be able to do it, and you don't have to worry. Your emotions are not going to drown you. Your emotions are not going to tank your energy. So when you have emotions, when you're feeling something, they're wanting you to just feel it. Dive right in and feel it.
Okay.
Because it's the avoiding of the emotions that's actually creating the fear and not wanting to drown.
That is so true.
Because once you feel those emotions, that is when you're able to let go. So oftentimes what people do when they feel the emotions, they feel the emotion, and instead of moving out of it, they stay in the emotion. And that's where the fear comes in. Well, if I feel this emotion, I'm never going to feel any different. I'm going to always feel this way.
Yeah.
Is there something recently that you have to move through from an emotional standpoint for you?
I've had some family issues, just a lot of relationship issues, romantic and issues with my family that I'm still trying to work through currently.
Mm-hmm. Okay. They're asking me to ask you, like, what is your role in this? So you don't have to answer that question necessarily now, but they want you to work through that. What is your role in the situations? How did you show up? What is your feeling? Where is your wounding? Is that feeling part of what's going on now, or is this an older feeling? Tell me what happened with the romantic relationships. And this is actually maybe a hazard of your soul purpose, is that you see people for who they really are. And then when their three-dimensional person doesn't show up the way that you know that they are, then it's very jarring for you sometimes.
That's very, very, very true.
So what were some of the challenges that you had in some of the romantic relationships then?
I just know that you could just feel that someone is their soul. I don't know. I could just feel it, that it's what it really is. And then obviously it's life. So there's like lying and stuff like that. So catch me off guard and just mess with my head a little. But my recent relationship, we had some issues, just his personal issues, and he was lying to me about something. But I forgave him. It's just I'm still hurt by it, I guess.
Do you know why he lied?
Shame.
Mm-hmm.
It's very strong.
And that's what they want you to see. They want you to see why people do the things that they do, because you know that this is part of what you're really talented in doing as a soul, is identifying why somebody does something, because you have much more context for what's happening. You can sort of on a 3D level feel, oh, well, I feel like crap because he lied to me. Like, why would he do that? But then knowing that he did it because of shame, you know now that it basically had nothing to do with you. Like, he didn't lie to you purposely because he wanted to lie to you. He lied to you because of his own insecurities and shame.
Yes.
So that's where you can start to depersonalize what happens. Now, it is up to you in your 3D self whether or not this is something that is serious enough to break up with the person or continue a relationship. When it comes down to it, you can see the purpose and the reason for it, and then your role in it from that point. Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to ask if there's anything that we can give you as far as like a tool or something that's going to help you, because it is very difficult. I find when you are moving through life, seeing and knowing people for who they are and seeing completely different things in the 3D, it makes it difficult for relationships in general. So many people, especially if they're in their wounding, don't want to be seen. They really don't. And they're showing me that your previous version of yourself that I was just looking at, that was actually part of her problem, is that she could see everything in the previous village she was in, and she would call it out. She would tell the person that, let's say they were angry at their mother for X, Y, and Z, and she would call it out because she could see it. And the person didn't want to hear it.
Yes. I do experience that now, and I have learned that actually.
Oh, and it is very much about the integration of yourself. So the integration of your soul and allowing yourself to come together with all the versions of yourself and connect in with your heart. And I know these all sound like concepts that people talk about all the time. Oh, connect to your heart, connect to your soul, and be together as one. And it sounds all great and everything. But when it's actually comes down to your own life, you're like, well, great. How do I do that? The only thing that I can tell you is that, you set the intention that you're going to do it, and you'll do it, and it'll unfold the way that it needs to unfold. It may not look the way that you think it will, but it will unfold for you. And it'll be in a manner that is going to support you in what you're here to do.
Okay.
So in other words, don't worry about it. It'll just unfold. And this brings us to the next question, which is, how can you connect to your guides more easily? So we're going to do a meditation. Have you met your guides yet?
I did a meditation where I saw what I believe were my guides, but again, I need some reassurance, some confirmation, because it was a little crazy what I saw.
Okay. We're going to dive right into that meditation, and I'm going to go in with you and we'll see what we see together. Okay.
All right.
So I'd like you to imagine that you're back in that beautiful place in nature. And I would like you to notice that off in the distance, you see some orbs of light. And I want you to tell me how many orbs you see.
I see 5.
And I'd like you to imagine all 5 of those are moving forward towards you. And as those orbs are moving forward, you notice that one of them is slightly brighter. And I want you to focus your attention on the one that's the brightest right now.
Okay.
And I want you to allow that orb to come even more forward towards you until it's right in front of you. And I want you to recognize what kind of energy it feels like. So does it feel soft? Does it feel strong?
I'm getting strong.
Does it feel more masculine or more feminine?
Masculine.
Do you see a color associated?
I think yellow.
And then I would like you to allow this orb to take shape. And as the orb takes shape, I want you to just sort of acknowledge what this looks like. And then I would like you to ask who this guide is, maybe what's their name, and what they're here to help you with.
I have a name and a face, but I can't tell if I'm just putting it there. If you know what
I do.
I had gotten this name of this man one time in a dream, and I looked him up. His name was Meihi, Meihi. His color was yellow. He has like this white beard and white long hair. And he wore a lot of yellow, and he seems tall, gaunty.
All right, so then I would like you to focus on one of the other orbs.
I'm getting feminine, something feminine. Like spring, like how spring feels.
That's lovely.
Like all of the flowers, just floral and pink, yellow. I can't decide on the color. It's like an ombre of both. It's basically like the feeling of smelling flowers. Something of beauty I'm getting.
She's surrounding you in it. Okay, she's here to remind you that no matter what you see in other people, no matter what happens, you have to understand that there is beauty in all.
Yes.
And she's here to help you see that. And so when you're in a place where you're really sad, or if you're annoyed, angry, you can always ask her to help you see the beauty in something, and she will come to your aid. She wants to say something to you, actually. So hold on. I've been working with you for quite some time now, as your whole team has. We've all been together now for many, many lifetimes. It is not something that we regularly do as a spirit team. We don't always work with the same human over and over again, but your particular situation is unique in the way that you operate as a soul, and that extra familiar support was necessary for you to be able to move forward on your journey. I want to assure you that everything that you see in us is us, and it is you. You may think that you're making up something in your head, but just know that we are part of you. We have all been working together for so long that we have this connection that is like no other. There are places in which we are symbiotic in our motions of energy, almost like where I end and you begin, there is no space in between. And likewise with Mikael and all the others, we are like you. We have seen the past, the future, the present, and everything in between. And although, yes, most souls on the other side can do that, very few can do it while they're still incarnated. But that will be no longer as we usher in this new era on this planet, which is allowing us to all be integrated as one. I wish for you to enjoy this process. It can be a difficult process at times, but I want you to find the joy in it, because there is joy in it. There is joy in everything. If you're having a really hard time, I want you to connect with me and work with me. I will help you. There's nothing that we wouldn't do for you. We have nothing but love for you. Thank you.
Very nice.
Well, and so this is what they really want you to know, is that it's not about what they look like to you. It is very much about the energy and what you feel. And so the energy of what you feel is like that silliness, that lightness, that laughter.
It's strange, but you said it doesn't matter, but I see like this blue bird. The beings, the blue avian beings. I've seen this one before, and I didn't know what to make of it because I've used to be terrified of birds, but I always like blue jays. And I see him coming in. He's very neutral, straight to the point, not to be mean or anything, just neutral. I don't know if you've ever seen one of them before.
I haven't actually, no. So you're feeling like the bird has these otherworldly origins and it has a very neutral energy. Okay, so I'm getting that it's a very, almost like I don't want to say a stern father, but like it's almost like an energy of something that is very non-judgmental, but also not super warm and fuzzy either. So it's like, it's a very straight and narrow, informative type of energy. Okay.
You just explained it perfectly well, actually.
Yeah. So that's the energy that you need to sort of connect into sometimes. So for me, I usually leave it open to my guides and say, okay, whoever really needs to work with me now, like you can work with me. And I let each guide come in as they need to. So that is your spirit team. It doesn't mean that this is the only spirit team you have. You might have other guides that come in and out as you go along your journey. So make sure to check in from time to time. Did you have any other questions that we need to answer still?
I was wondering if I have a soul contract with who I'm dating now.
Oh, you have very similar energy.
Yeah.
He's very nice. Yeah, they're not going to tell me what the soul contract is, but like overall, like his energy feels really good. You know that already.
Yes. Oh, I was hoping to get an answer.
Yeah, you know, the thing is that they don't want you to know because they want things to unfold the way that they're going to.
Yeah.
Like it feels like home between you two. It feels very like positive, very nice and comfortable and loving. Like it's very lovely.
Yeah.
He will teach you things. He will challenge you in certain ways and vice versa.
Yeah.
Has that already happened?
Yeah, it has.
Yeah. How long have you been together?
We've been together for a year and some months now.
I love that. So no, I was about to say a year and a half, but yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Evolve together, learn together.
That's what's happening now, actually.
Yeah. And enjoy it. Enjoy the space of evolving. Yeah. Don't worry too much about the future. I know, but it's so hard, right?
It's so hard because when it's good, because of my upbringing, I'm like, what is going to happen next? There's a lot of chaos. So I'm like, it's good, so there's bad. And I'm trying to get out of that, but it just keeps coming.
Well, that's where you're going to start working on some of the wounding from the past, because the thing is that what I'm seeing is that all of the challenges that you signed up for in the beginning of your life were those explosive things to launch you in that cannon. And so you're already airborne, so you don't have to worry about any more challenges anymore. It's just like you're flying. So you're good. And it's up to you if you're going to continue to repeat the pattern and the cycle. You have to consciously decide to let it go.
Okay.
All right. I can certainly help you with any of that work if you want, but also, you know, ask your guides to help you and guide you to the right place that you can help yourself work through that. Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So we are going to close the Akashic Records. I want to thank Akula, my Akashic guide, for being here. I want to thank Archangel Metatron and Archangel Sandalphon as well. Thank you. The records are closed. The records are closed. The records are closed. Thank you.
And a big thank you to Jessica for taking part in the podcast by allowing us to record her session and share it with all of you. Wow, there's a lot to unpack in this session, so we're just going to dive right in. The first subject I want to talk about is how I was able to connect to the past life version of her and how that past life version of her was able to interact with me. Now, this kind of boggled my mind a little bit initially because I had never had that happen before. And I guess that's the one consistent thing that continues to happen throughout these sessions is I experience things that I haven't experienced before. And that should not be surprising in and of itself. But what is surprising is when you start to think about the implications of the fact that she was able to experience my energy and talk to me from a completely different time, from a different dimension, from a different lifetime. And that's really incredible. So that makes you start to think, well, in previous lifetimes, are my guides me? Or in this lifetime, some of my guides, are they me from another dimension, another lifetime, another place? It's very possible. It's more than possible. It's probable that at some point you are connecting to you to give yourself messages based on your own experience, because we're constantly communicating back to our own soul. So why wouldn't we connect to other lifetimes, other dimensions? Now, the one thing that they are showing me right now is that it isn't necessarily common, though, for people to be able to recognize that. So the fact that Jessica's previous version of herself recognized me as a soul and could communicate with me was a little bit of a rarity. Oftentimes, there's not the ability to be able to have that kind of connection. Now, here's the important piece. That means it's not easy for people to have that type of connection now, but in the future, it is going to be very easy for all of us to have this connection. Because what's really incredible about her beautiful spiritual gift of being able to see all of the lifetimes that everybody has had all at once is that you are able to see the full experience of that soul. And guess what? Every single person on this planet is going to be able to do this. Eventually. It's going to be a while, I feel, but it is going to happen. I have seen in the records that there will come a time eventually where everyone will be born remembering every single lifetime they've ever had. That can be thousands and thousands or millions of lifetimes. It's not necessarily a remembering, it's more of an integration of all of those lifetimes. So will you need to access them the way that we do now? No. And that is one of the things that I've been shown, is that eventually the records will cease to be necessary. Everything will just all be integrated, so there won't be a need for the separation between where we are and where the Akashic records are. Everything will be integrated. That is a beautiful thing to think about in terms of being able to access those parts of yourself that maybe you're not able to access right now. So in the meantime, until that does happen, until everybody starts remembering their past lives and integrating their Akashic records, of course, we have these beautiful sessions that we can connect in and take a look and see what we need to see in order to foster our spiritual growth. And that's exactly what she's doing. She's using this experience to her benefit for her spiritual growth. Now that's a good segue to the Meet Your Guides meditation that we did in this session. There are so many different experiences we can have during this meditation. I have been with clients where they have seen their guides show up as animals, as ascended masters, as angels, as items like leaves or boxes or objects. They have also shown up as famous figures, let's say. I've talked about this often, that initially one of my guides showed up as Gandalf because that guide thought it would be really funny, and he knew that I loved Lord of the Rings, so why not? That is what I meant when I was speaking to Jessica about the form that our guides take doesn't really matter, because ultimately it doesn't. They could really take any form they wanted to. Of course, in our soul form, we often have a preferred form. We have a form that we like to show up in. But more times than not, our guides are going to show up in a form that is more beneficial for us, in a form that is going to be something that we can recognize, that we can connect to, that we can feel is easy to recognize on an energetic level. As you heard throughout the course of this meditation and the descriptions that you heard, it is about the energy that you're feeling. So feeling into the energy of your guides, and what does it feel like? Does it feel joyous and funny and bubbly, or does it feel serious like it did with one of the last guides we connected with, Jessica? Don't doubt yourself. Don't doubt the things that you get, because it is the energy that does not lie. And I always say this, energy doesn't lie. So it is the energy that you're connecting to. If the guide is showing up as a particular thing, you can take that, or you can actually ask the guide, hey, that's not something that I can understand or can connect to. Can you please show up as something else next time? And most likely your guide will oblige. It is a conversation that you can have with them, though. One of the things that we did not do in this particular session is to really dive into the reason why each guide was there for her. That is also something that I do recommend you do if you're doing this meditation, is to just have a little conversation with them and ask them what they're here for. Ask them what they're here to show you, what they're here to teach you, what they're here to help you with. And of course, if you have a little bit of a struggle doing this on your own, this is something that I can certainly do in session with you. The other thing I wanted to talk about is names in terms of meeting your angels and guides. There seems to be a lot of need for people to have names for their guides, and there's nothing wrong with that. And our guides do have dominant names sometimes. Sometimes they don't. I have guides that have no names at all, but I do have other guides that do. So it just really depends on the type of guide you have. Of course, if they're ancestors or crossed over loved ones, they're going to use the name that you know them by. If they are angels, archangels, typically they have names that they are resonant with. If they are other energies, let's say from other planets, other galaxies, other dimensions, they may or may not have a name that they want to give you or that they need to give you. It is more about the energy that they are connecting to. What's interesting, though, is that sometimes I feel that when guides don't give us names, there's a reason for that. And it could be one of those reasons, as we were talking about earlier, that maybe it is a previous version of yourself. Maybe it is a different version of yourself. And if you knew that it was you in a spirit guide form, maybe you wouldn't listen. Maybe you wouldn't believe it. So it really just depends on how you feel about you and whether or not you would actually get that information. Now, most of you remember Lucius, my beloved soulmate kitty, who passed back in February. And he's one of my guides as well. And he has been one of my guides for quite some time. When he was in his cat form, he refused to tell me who he was. I asked him. I even tried to go into his Akashic records with him, but he refused to allow it. So he basically just said that he didn't want me thinking of him in a way that was different than I currently had my perception of him. And it wasn't until after he passed that I connected with him and really started to get the feel of his true energy. And it was definitely different than the energy that I felt with him when he was in his cat body. It's definitely a bigger energy. It's a much more powerful energy. His voice sounded much deeper in my head. I guess when he was a cat, he had a little higher pitched voice in my head when I heard him. And so, yeah, that all changed when he crossed over. There are things that shift and change when we go from one form to the next. So that is something that we just need to sort of roll with and be okay with. The biggest thing is not to doubt yourself. If this is something that you're seeing, if you're getting these images or these impressions all the time, go with it. And most of the time, I am just giving my clients confirmation of what they already know in their hearts. They already know that these guides are available to them. They've been connecting to them, or they've seen them, or they've heard them. Sometimes you may have seen them in a dream. Sometimes you may have seen them when you were a child or heard them when you were a child, but didn't really connect the dots. Having a relationship with your spirit team is so, so very important. They really do help you in all the things, in all the ways, which is what I say when I thank them every day. I thank them and say, thank you for helping me in all things, in all ways, across all directions of space, time, reality, and dimension. Let there be no limit to the ways in which you can help me today. Now, I can't take credit for that little prayer. That I got directly from Radley Valentine. If any of you are familiar with him, he does all kinds of oracle decks and beautifully written books. And he's somebody that I used to follow when I was first starting my journey. And that was one of the best prayers that I had heard, because it really does cover pretty much everything. And it allows your spirit team to step in and help you to your highest timeline. The last piece in the session was very short. I believe it was only about 5 or 10 minutes in the episode, but it contained a lot that I want to talk about. The first thing is talking about soul contracts and past lives. So there was a portion in the session that I did cut out of the recording simply because I did speak the client's real name as well as the name of her partner several times. So I could not keep that in the podcast and have it make any sort of sense. So just to sort of fill you in, essentially, she originally asked for the information if her and her current boyfriend had any past lives together and if they had any soul contracts together. So the first thing that I saw was that they did not have any past lives together, but they did have soul contracts together. And I wanted to address this because you might think that, oh, well, in order to have a soul contract, you have to have a past life. And that is absolutely not true. Your soul contract is what you make before you come here to create the sort of to-do list with the people and the souls that you're going to connect to. And these are the things that we are going to accomplish. These are the things that we're going to do together. This is the type of relationship we're going to have, those types of things. So of course, you're going to constantly have new people, new souls coming into your experience because that enriches the human life, that enriches your soul's experience by having other souls, other energies interact with yours. The disappointing thing was the guides were not going to tell me what the soul contract was between her and her boyfriend. And this was one of the first times that this had come up for a recorded session. And I wanted to include it because this does happen. It happens where I will have a client ask a question and the guides will say, no, they're not going to answer it. And that can be frustrating. The thing that I was trying to reassure Jessica about was that it is definitely for her highest good and highest timeline for her not to know that information. Now, we have talked about that a lot as it pertains to me and my own journey and the things that my guides won't tell me. This is the first time I think that we've talked about this in regards to another client. So if you do come to me and you're asking certain questions and the guides don't want to answer them, you have to be able to accept the information for what it is, because it may not be the right time. You might be able to get the right information or more information at a later date, but it's possible that it is also just not the right time. And if you were to know this information, it could be detrimental to the relationship. It could be detrimental to all kinds of things. So just take into consideration when you are seeing any practitioner, whether you're going to an astrologer or a psychic or anyone, it doesn't matter who it is, that the universe does keep some things under wraps, and that's okay. That is for our benefit. So then the last piece I want to talk about is very minor. It was something we just briefly touched on towards the end of the session. Had this been a major thing that Jessica needed to work on, the guides would have made this front and center. The reason why they kind of tacked it on towards the end is because it's something that she's just now starting to connect into and move through in terms of her soul growth and in terms of her healing of that particular wound. I can relate to this wound on so many levels. And it is something that I was just really thinking about yesterday, in fact, because there are so many times in my life where things had not gone to plan, or that the other shoe dropped, or that something bad happened, or that I had some challenging relationship, or all of the things that I've experienced throughout my life. It creates a pattern of expecting these things. This can be really, really detrimental to your journey, because if you have a really challenging life and you overcome those challenges, then the next step is to actually clear out that challenging energy so you can start to expect everything going your way. And I know it's hard to really fathom when you have signed up for a difficult childhood, or if you've signed up for a difficult beginning part of your life. So I know that I had a lot of difficulties growing up. I had a lot of difficulties throughout my 20s and my 30s and all the way up through even the beginnings of my 40s. And those things still haunt me to this day, where I'm worried that somebody's going to ghost me, or that I'm going to be in a place of being taken advantage of, or I'm not going to be able to stand in my power, or that I'm going to be overgiving, or that I'm not going to have love that's reciprocated. There's so many different things that have happened. And now I'm in a place where those things won't happen anymore. And the reason why is because I've worked through that wounding. I've worked through those challenges. They were there for a reason. And now they don't need to be there anymore because I've worked through those particular energies. Now, I do say that we can't always go through all of that and, let's say, integrate it or transmute it 100%. There's always going to be some residual. There's always going to be things that you need to work on. And I will always be constantly working on myself for this incarnation and for the next. You know, it's something that is necessary. It's part of our growth. The thing is that you can put those experiences behind you, though, that you no longer need to experience. So you're going to have new experiences. You're going to have new challenges or new things that you're going to have to do in order to climb that next mountain. And there's nothing wrong with that. But in order to get there and in order to move forward, you do need to have the experience of letting go, of expecting the challenges or expecting the other shoe to drop. Being in an energy of understanding that you are worthy and you are deserving of the good that's coming to you in your life, of the things that are here for your highest good, for your highest timeline. And like I said, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to have challenges, but what it means is that you don't have to feel disempowered anymore. And that comes into faith and trust. How much faith do you have in your abilities and the divine in your spirit team? How much trust do you have in yourself, your spirit team, and the divine? If you can answer that question, it'll give you a pretty good indication as to where you are in this process. I myself have not quite answered that question yet, but I'm getting close. I'm getting close to answering it. I can say that I have absolute faith in the things that unfold for me in my life and that they are for my highest good. I can say that I waver in trust that the beautiful things that I want to come into my life are going to show up, or that they're going to be there, the things that I know that are meant for me. And yet those things show up all the time for me. And yet I still don't trust. It's a work in progress, as usual. It's a work in progress for everyone. So where are those spaces where you don't trust and where you don't have faith? And it's not a constant either to have faith and trust. It is something that you really do have to cultivate over time. And there will be times where you completely lose all faith and trust altogether. But it is a matter of being able to pick it back up again when the time is necessary, when you've moved through that challenging period. Asking the universe, asking your guides for signs, for a clear indication. And even sometimes you don't even have to ask for those signs. I have a very dear friend who went through a crisis of faith recently, and she got some pretty big signs and synchronicities that basically were undeniable, that kind of helped her to go back on that path. In order to move forward, we do need to look at the past sometimes, and sometimes we need to let the past go. And that is what this message is for you right now, is to decide that you're going to create the next reality that you're living in. And what does that look like for you? What do you want it to be? Because that power, guess what? It is in your hands. It is in your energy. It is in your thoughts. It is in everything that you do. So take a moment every day to try to switch the way that you're thinking, change the way that you're thinking, do something to uplift your energy. Do something to know that something is going to work out for you in every way possible, even if it's something small. And I recommend starting with the small things, because if you start with the big things, that might be a little bit more difficult. The big things do happen, of course. They do take a bit more time, though. That's it for this discussion. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to connecting with you next week.
If you're enjoying this podcast, I really would appreciate it if you would give it a like, a thumbs up, wherever you happen to be listening. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss an episode. And if you need to get a hold of me, you can certainly reach me on my website at infinitesoullove.com. You can also reach me on all social media at infinitesoullove1111. That's on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. You can find this podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. Spotify, Apple, Pocket Casts, anything that you use to listen to podcasts, you can find the Akashic recordings. Thank you so much, and don't forget to join us next week.